What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel, and today I am going to be ranking current Premier League managers from 20th to 1st, from worst to best. Now look, I'm not going to lie, it took me a while to come up with this list, but I'm pretty confident in what I have chosen. So let's get into it. First up at 20th, I have went for Russell Martin. I think he is the obvious choice. Not just because he's managing the worst side in the league. I think there is a reason for that. He was at MK Dons and Swansea before he came to Southampton. He didn't really do much there. He is young. He's only 38 years old. I think he will improve as he goes on in his managerial career. His teams play a very possession-based kind of football. I think Southampton have something like the second most passes in the Premier League this season, which is crazy. But for me, he's the obvious choice at 20 right now. At 19th, I'm saying Steve Cooper. Now look, undoubtedly, he did a fantastic job with Forest in the Championship. He did a good job at Swansea as well, bringing them to the playoff final. But since managing in the Premier League, I think it has been clear that he's not at this level. Obviously, he's managing Leicester at the moment. I don't see him being the man to keep them up, but time will tell. I don't think he is a Premier League standard manager, so to speak. At 18th, I am saying Gary O'Neill. I think he did a decent job with Bournemouth. I can't lie. I think he was a bit harshly sacked. But he does seem to have these periods with teams where they just can't get results. He had that at Bournemouth kind of in the middle of that season before he got sacked in the summer. He's now at Wolves, and I think Wolves have been really unlucky, not just with decisions, but also how games have gone this season. I don't think they will go down, but for me, he is a bit of a limited manager, and I think 18th is fair. He should be doing better with Wolves, with the quality that they have in that team. At 17th, Julian Lopetegui. Now look, you might be surprised that I'm putting a Europa League winning manager as the 4th worst manager in the Premier League, but I've got to be honest, whenever I watch his teams, I'm never impressed. He obviously came to Wolves a couple of years ago and he failed miserably. And I think he was a bad appointment for West Ham. And I think we're seeing that so far this season. His teams look aimless, and undoubtedly he should be doing a lot better with the quality in that West Ham team than he is currently doing. At 16th, Kieran McKenna. I think he is a very promising young manager. I think he got 2 promotions with Ipswich in 3 seasons, which is very impressive. I think he will be a lot higher up this list if he's managing in the Premier League in years to come. I don't think he's doing a bad job with Ipswich as of yet in the Premier League. Obviously, they had a really good win away to Spurs at the weekend, but I'm putting him 16th just because he's not proven at this level as of yet. Obviously, time will tell. I think he's a good manager, but I think 16th is fair for now. At 15th, I'm going for Oliver Glasner. If I made this ranking last summer, he would probably be an awful lot higher. But since Elise left in the summer, Palace do not look like a very good side, especially tactically in some of these games. Obviously, he won the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt in 2021. Very, very impressive. But there is a lot of quality in that Palace team. I don't think they should be where they are, even in the early stages of this season. And I think the jury is very much out for Glasner in this season. 14th, I'm saying Sean Dyche. Now, I think a lot of you will be surprised that I put Dyche this low. He did a fantastic job with Burnley with very limited resources. I think he brought them to their highest ever finish in the Premier League, which was 7th. He brought them to the Europa League. For a club like Burnley, that is ridiculous. But I do believe when you compare him to other managers, he's very one-dimensional in his playing style. That has worked in previous years, but I think he's getting a bit found out with that now. I think it's a little bit outdated. The first season he came to Everton, he was lucky to keep them up in the Premier League. And I don't think he has improved Everton since he's been there. So this is why I have him in 14th, even though I would listen to arguments because of what he did with Burnley that he should be higher. 13th, I'm saying Nuno Espirito Santo. Obviously, he's doing an excellent job with Forest at the moment. I didn't see that coming in the summer. Obviously, he barely kept Forest up last season. He's doing an excellent job so far with them this season. He did a great job at Wolves as well, obviously bringing them up from the Championship. He brought them to their highest ever finish as well, I think, which was 7th. I think he has an eye for talent, that's for sure, especially with some of the players he brought in at Wolves and a couple of the players as well he's brought in at Forest. But I don't think this is going to last, genuinely. I think the bubble will burst at Forest. I think he's a good manager, but I don't think he is a great manager. And I think 13th is fair. At 12th, I'm saying Marco Silva. And this is kind of a personal favourite of mine. I just love watching his teams play, especially with Fulham. I think he's done a great job there. They are an established kind of top 10 or thereabouts Premier League side under Marco Silva. He didn't do a great job at Watford or at Everton. I think he was a bit harshly treated at Hull. Obviously, they got relegated, but largely I don't think he did a bad job there. But he has Fulham playing this nice brand of football. I think they're a threat to any big team they play against. And I think he's a bit of an underrated manager. I like Marco Silva. At 11th, I'm going with Fabian Hürzeler. Now, I really do think he is one to watch for the future. Obviously, he's only 31 years old. I hope I'm right in saying that. He got St. Pauli promoted to the Bundesliga before he came to Brighton. And I must say, watching Brighton this season, I have been very impressed with the way they've played. Obviously, Brighton always play a good brand of football, but I think Hürzeler has further improved them, and I think they will certainly be a contender for top 8, top 7, maybe even this season. At 10th, I'm going with Ruben Amorim, and a lot of United fans probably won't be happy with that. I'm not going to act like I know any more about him than you do, because let's face it, it's a shot in the dark from United. Obviously, he was a big success in Portugal with Sporting. He won 2 titles. He brought in players like Gyökeres, who I think he got for 20 million euros, who looks a fantastic player. I think he was probably the best choice out of a bad bunch that United had available. Will he be a success? Time will tell. I think he's very unproven. Obviously, the Portuguese league is not of a very good standard. And look, I can see people saying that Slot was unproven as well. And look, Slot's obviously a better manager. But the difference is here, Amorim is being left with quite a poor squad and a poor mood in around Manchester United, whereas Slot was left with the opposite, really, at Liverpool. Time will tell, but I think 10th is fair for now. 9th, I'm going with Andoni Iraola. And like Marco Silva, I am a big fan. I think he plays a lovely attacking style of football. When Eddie Howe left Bournemouth, I think you were wondering whether Bournemouth would kind of plummet down the table. But if anything, Iraola has made Bournemouth better. With O'Neill coming in after Howe, I think they kind of stagnated. But Iraola has came in and he has done an excellent job as of yet. I would not be surprised if he gets a bigger job in the future. 8th, I'm going with Ange Postecoglou. And for me, he's a bit overrated. I always said this as well. Obviously, he did very well at Celtic. He did well in Japan as well. But at Spurs, I think he should be doing an awful lot better. He's got quality in all areas of the pitch there. I think his style is, yes, quite positive, quite attacking, but his teams, for me, look very defensively disorganised. He should be doing a lot better with the quality he has there. And I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think at some stage next season, he won't be the Spurs manager anymore. 7th, I'm saying Enzo Maresca. I think so far he has done a very good job at Chelsea. He has certainly improved them than the managers they have had in previous years. If you look at players like Caicedo and Nicholas Jackson, since he came to the club, they are playing out of their skin. And I think that's a great sign for any manager. The same with somebody like Arne Slot, with certain players who maybe weren't on their best form before the manager came to the club, and he improves them an awful lot. I think there is potential for Enzo Maresca to build something at Chelsea. I do think he will lead them to Champions League football this season. And obviously he did a very good job with Leicester as well. It was maybe a bit of a rogue pick for Chelsea manager, but I think he is proving himself so far this season. Sixth, I'm going with Eddie Howe. Obviously, we all know the job he did at Bournemouth. I think he got them something like 3 promotions, which is crazy. He led them to their highest ever Premier League finish, I think, which was 12th. Iraola matched that last season. And I think he's done a good job at Newcastle. Time will tell whether he is the long-term option there. Obviously, with all the money that Newcastle have, I think they can do better in the future. I don't see Eddie Howe as a guy who's going to lead Newcastle to contending for big trophies, but he's done a good job so far at Newcastle. He's brought in good players. I think he's a very good player manager, and he certainly has done well. Obviously, he has quite a few resources and a lot of money at his disposal, but for me, he's done a good job at Newcastle so far. Fifth, I'm saying Thomas Frank, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have him this high, but I think he is hugely underrated. I mean, he himself has made Brentford an established Premier League club. Brentford are a pretty small club, and what he has done with them is absolutely amazing. I think he led them to 9th in 2023, which is crazy for a club like Brentford. He's dealt with good times and bad times at the club. They've never really been in threat of relegation since they've came to the Premier League as well, which is amazing. And look at the players he has in that team. Look at the players he brings into that team. They play football in the right way. He's a great manager, and I think he is destined for a big job soon. Fourth, I'm saying Arne Slot. A lot of you will be surprised with that, but that is plainly because we only know him really for a few months. I think he has absolutely improved Liverpool. As a Liverpool fan, defensively, we look more organised. In possession, we look better. And I think in terms of transition, it's very similar, the kind of level that Klopp had when he was at the club as well. Obviously, he was excellent at Feyenoord and excellent at AZ before coming to Liverpool. And the only reason I have him at fourth and not higher is that reason, because he has only been a few months in the Premier League. We need to see more. Obviously, I expect him at the end of the season to be higher than fourth. Time will tell. But for now, I think fourth is fair. Obviously, if he wins the league this season, he'll probably be first or second. Third, I am saying Mikel Arteta. Arteta gets a lot of criticism, and I don't agree with the vast majority of it. Arsenal were teetering in around kind of mid-table or higher mid-table for years. He came in and he made them one of the best teams in Europe. It's as simple as that. They were only beaten by an absolutely world-class Manchester City team to the Premier League title over the last 2 seasons. I think Arteta deserves respect for what he has done. Obviously, he hasn't brought in a Premier League or a Champions League as of yet, but I do believe that will come eventually. He's built a fantastic team there. He's done a great job. And look, the only thing I would say in criticism of Arteta, he seems to have became a lot more defensive in the way he sets up his teams at times this season especially. But he is a good manager and he's done a great job. He deserves to be at least top 3 on this list. At second, I am saying Unai Emery. The man has 4 European titles. Yes, they are all Europa League titles, but any manager that wins 4 European titles is a world-class manager. Obviously, he won 3 in a row at Sevilla, and then he goes to Villarreal and he wins them their first ever European title. And look, I think his track record just proves how good he is. Obviously, with that Villarreal team as well, I think it was the following season, he brought them to a Champions League semi-final and they put up a great fight against a very good Liverpool team. And just look at what he's done with Villa. It's absolutely amazing. When he came in, they were fighting relegation. He's brought them to the Champions League, their first time qualifying for the Champions League in over 40 years, beating teams like Bayern Munich this season and being very competitive in the competition so far. He's an absolutely excellent manager. He's had success wherever he has went, maybe apart from Arsenal, but that is a very difficult job. And look, Villa are in a bit of a sticky spot at the moment, but I have no doubt he will take them out of it. He's a fantastic manager. And then at number 1, massive shock, I'm going with Pep Guardiola. I mean, you don't really need to say anything about him. The guy's got 3 Champions League titles. He's won league titles in Germany and in Spain, multiple league titles. He's won 7 Premier League titles with Manchester City. He's one of the best managers of all time. I suppose the question is he the best Premier League manager of all time? Because if you were to sit down and have a good debate whether you think Pep Guardiola or Alex Ferguson is the best Premier League manager, I think it's, at this moment in time, difficult to separate them. I hope he leaves soon, and I think he might, especially with these charges coming in for Manchester City, potentially. But you've got to respect him. He's one of the best managers of all time. Anyway, there is my list. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree. I'm not going to lie, I think I've done pretty well there, because it ain't easy at all. And to be honest, next season, or even at the end of this season, it could look completely different. If you've made it this far in the video, I very much appreciate it. Thank you. And please leave me a like. And if you're new to the channel, a subscription would be very much appreciated as well. I'll see you in the next one.